Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Estela. I am part of the Classified Professional Development Committee, and I want to welcome you today to the Home Ergonomics. And we have our presenter here, Daniel Phillips. He's going to do his presentation. If you guys have questions, just keep those towards the end. He's going to have 10 minutes after his presentation to have a little Q&A for us. So for now, let's welcome Daniel. Daniel.
All right, thank you very much. So what we're going to be talking about today is home office ergonomics, which I'm sure you're here because this is very timely, right? It seems like our offices are at home now, and we've never thought about creating an office at home unless you think back to the days of being in high school or college and doing a lot of studying at your desk. But you know, for me, I don't necessarily have a great setup at my home. You know, I have that in my office, a chair and keyboard and other things that I use to make sure that I'm ergonomically sitting properly and more safe. So now that we're in this change and going through this pandemic and not sure how long this is going to go, and I honestly can tell you that I didn't realize that we were going to still be here after about 6 months. Um, so initially I feel like, okay, we can deal with this for a couple months, but now it's going a little bit longer, and we need to start looking at training the individuals, what you need to do at home in order to be ergonomically sound and safe. And so what I'm going to do in this presentation is go over the basics of what ergonomics is, what kind of injuries you might see, how does it feel. You know, we'll look at the different types of pains that you might feel and which extremities and which part of the body we see most of those types of injuries. The benefits of doing proper ergonomics at home or in the office. What are the benefits? Because there's a lot. And then we'll get in deep into how to properly set up an office workstation, looking at how you should sit, how your body should be in the chair, how your body is related to your workstation and how those should interact. And then I'll add a little bit of if you don't have a certain type of piece of equipment, what you can do at home to sort of fudge that a little bit. Whether it's, you know, sitting on a pillow or rolling up a towel or some other sorts of things, we'll go into how to remedy some of these issues at home as well. And then finally, once I'm finished, we will go through some questions and answers. All right, sound like a plan? Great. Um, all right. All right, so this is interesting. These pop-up windows are covering what I'm supposed to see. So what is ergonomics and why is it important to you? Okay, so ergonomics by definition is the science of fitting the job to the worker. Now, way back when we started doing a lot of repetitive motion, especially in the automotive industry, it was really thought that we have this assembly line, we put a worker at it, and it doesn't matter what size the worker is. If the assembly line's too low, they have to bend over. If it's too high, they have to reach up. There was no sense of making the assembly line flexible where it can adjust up and down so it can fit to the worker. And now that's all changed. What we need to think about is if you have equipment that is created to support you and put you into an ergonomic position, something that is safe to sit. Now, if you're sitting safe and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you are being responsible and mindful for how you interact with sitting properly and staying safe, then the equipment should come to you. Okay, that's kind of what we're getting at here. So when you're sitting at your desk, and we'll go deeper into this later, while you're sitting at your desk and your fingertips land at a certain spot, at that point, that's where the keyboard should be, right where your fingertips land. That's where your mouse should be, right where your fingertips are. You shouldn't be reaching out for things, okay? Because those are not neutral positions, and that's generally what over time causes injury. And I say over time, and that's sort of a digression just for a second, but these are repetitive motion injuries. Okay, so it's doing an injury over a long period, it's doing a certain motion over a long period of time that will eventually lead to some sort of sprain or some sort of strain in your back. So, for instance, if I'm reaching forward and I just keep my arm out here for hours and hours and hours, it's going to start getting tired, and it could potentially get injured because this is way too long to have my arm sticking out, right? That's what we're talking about. Being in a awkward posture or repetitive motion for a long period of time could end up causing some sort of strain. And we've all been there, right? Maybe we're going through it right now. So my neck is kind of tight and I feel like I need to stretch it, or my shoulders are feeling tight, or there's some muscle issues, or I feel like a nerve running down my arm. There's a lot of different things that could be going on. And I believe that is from either awkward postures or repetitive motion. So that's number one, science of fitting the job to the worker. Number two, it's important because it reduces the exposure of musculoskeletal disorders. We'll see that's called MSDs, and those risk factors. Okay, so if you're able to have a properly set up workstation and you're sitting in a neutral position, you're less likely to be exposed to potential MSDs. Okay, and then finally, the great thing about this is there's a whole industry that engineers equipment specific for our needs. So it involves engineering, which means they engineer keyboards to look a certain way. They engineer keyboard trays to move in and out and up and down to accommodate many sizes. They engineer different types, different types of mice that we use depending on, you can't really see it, depending on what you're working with and what kind of issues you might be having. I love recommending certain types of mice for people that are going through carpal tunnel because we have great selections on those, and they're fun to use. So engineering controls, and then finally administrative controls. So the difference between those two, an engineering control, you want to think of as something that's engineered, it's put in place, it does its job, and it's always going to do its job. Okay? It's an engineered piece of hardware, and that's all it is. Administrative controls are a little softer, a little more about you and your personal responsibility for how you interact with these engineering controls. Okay, so you have a personal responsibility every day when you get in your car to put on your seatbelt, right? That's your personal responsibility. The seatbelt is there and it's engineered, but it's not going to do it itself unless you pull it over and lock it in, right? So that's part of the administrative control. You have a certain job to interact with the engineering in order to make everything fit together. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. All right, so I just wanted to start out with something positive before we get to some of the injuries. First, the benefits of ergonomics. And there's a lot of benefits here. Okay, so before we get to those benefits, if you just look at the cartoon, Homer Simpson, you can see that there's a big difference here between him sitting properly in the upper left and improperly in the lower right, right? And you can choose which one are you. I think we're probably a little of both, depending on either how stressed out we are or just whatever our habits have developed over time. And we'll go more into this, but just from clearly looking at this quickly, the way Homer's sitting on the lower left does not look like a good proper way to sit. He's not supported, and it looks kind of painful, right? But on the upper left, if he is sitting properly, he looks a little more alert, a little more refreshed, and able to continue the work, and is not feeling a lot of pain. Okay. So when we look at the benefits, number one, decreased injury risk, right? So that's really the last thing that we want here in this process of looking at ergonomics, but also just working on the campus. We don't want people to get injured. It affects you as a person because you can't come to campus and be productive anymore. You've been injured, right? We try to eliminate the chance and make it a safe environment so we can prevent the injuries. But then if you see people in your department starting to get injured, it really affects how the whole department feels. Oh my God, I'm working in a department where everyone's getting injured. Why is this going on? Maybe this is not a good place to work. But if everyone's working really well and they're all safe and there aren't a lot of injuries, it improves morale, right? If you're able to decrease the amount of ergonomic injuries and people are working safely and you can see that they're not as tired as they usually are because they're sitting properly, that improves morale, right? Increased productivity. You'll have more energy. You won't be slouched over and activating muscles that you don't need to. It decreases mistakes or rework because you're more alert. It increases efficiency. So I tell people that I'm probably the only person on the campus that tells everybody, slow down. Everybody just needs to slow down a little bit. Um, just don't tell Dr. Jeffrey that, okay? But I'm just kidding. Uh, just people need to slow down and think about, how do I work safely first? That's the first thing that you should be doing, okay? So here's the scenario. You have some work that needs to get done. It's under a deadline. You got to get it done quickly. And maybe you're cutting some corners. You're trying to get all the work done as quickly as possible. And you are very efficient. You're getting all this work done. But if you're not thinking safely, if you're not thinking the way you're supposed to be sitting properly, then there's a higher chance you're going to get injured, and you do get injured. Okay, you were so productive and so fast, you got injured, your back is out, and you have to be on bed rest for 3 months. So what's happening for those 3 months? Not an ounce of work is getting done, right? Or there's the person that every day before they sit down and throughout the day as they're working are always in the back of their mind thinking safety. Okay, how am I supposed to be sitting? Where's my keyboard? Where am I supposed to be reaching? And that person might be a little slower because they're thinking about more things, maybe not as efficient, but they're not going to get injured. And in the long run, the person who's at home for 3 months versus the person who comes in every day and gets the work done just a tiny bit slower but is very safe, they're going to, in the long run, be much more efficient and much more productive. Okay. Um, Decrease lost work days. Okay, so that's always good for the campus. And decrease turnover. It's never good to see people leave because they feel that this is an unsafe environment, and that also decreases morale. Okay, so the more we work together to try to keep people safe, and the less likely people are getting injured, then we're going to see morale go up. We'll see teamwork go up. We'll see less turnover. It becomes a happier environment, a place that people really want to work for long periods of time. And in your department, if everyone's there for a long period of time, they get closer with each other, they work better together, and efficiency just goes through the roof. Okay, so there's really a lot of benefits, primary, secondary, tertiary benefits of this whole process that you're going to see is going to make a huge impact as we move forward and we're working safely.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Okay, so what are musculoskeletal disorders? So this is what we've been talking about so far, these ergonomic injuries. Okay, so they're injuries or disorders involving the muscles, tendons and ligaments, joints, cartilage, blood vessels, nerves. Okay, a lot of different areas that can be affected. Sometimes I've had people come to me and say, I feel shooting pain running down my arm. Okay, well, that's probably a nerve issue. Okay, it could also be a tendon or ligament issue. Maybe there's something being pinched. Okay, sometimes we overwork our muscles. That's going to be a muscle issue. Okay, so there's all of these different things all fall into that category of musculoskeletal disorder or MSD. And then there's the risk factors. Okay, so what are the risk factors that lead to the musculoskeletal disorders? How are you working that's creating risk? So repetition, that's number one. Any sort of repetitive motion is a risk, and we want to try to decrease those as much as we can without affecting the work and keep you into a neutral position. So we'll come to that in a second. So talking about repetitive motion, if I have my finger and I go like this over and over for weeks and weeks, I will eventually get injured. Okay, that's what it means by repetitive motion. This will injure me over time if I just keep on doing it over and over and over and over. Okay, and there's a lot behind it. Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into it, but your finger is connected to a tendon, which is connected to a carpal tunnel. And in that carpal tunnel, it's very small. There's lots of other tendons in there, and those tendons are going back and forth, and there's lots of friction. They end up swelling, they getting pinched, right? All of that is connected, and that's through repetition. Okay. Awkward postures. Okay, so let's say as far as an awkward posture, um, my keyboard is way in front of me. I'm sure many of us have been in this situation. Our keyboard, our monitor is here, keyboard is in front of me, but in order to reach the keyboard, I'm really reaching out in order to reach the keyboard. This is how I work. I might rest my wrists on the hard surface. I'm reaching out to touch the keys, and I'm essentially like this. I'm trying my best so you can see kind of what I'm doing, but my arms are always out. Okay, that's an awkward posture, right? Because my muscles here, eventually I'm going to get pain up in here, around my neck, right? Because I'm activating my muscles by having my hands out. And my muscles are telling my body, we don't like this. They're activated, we're tired, we want to pull them back. And they're always tense and trying to pull you back into that neutral position, right? That's what you really want, is shoulders down, relaxed, elbows at your side. Okay, so that's an awkward posture. Another one is, let's say my monitor is over here, okay, and I'm looking over here all the time. So my keyboard's in front of me and I'm just looking over here all day, every day. You know, after several months, maybe longer, maybe shorter, you're going to start getting pain in your neck because that's an awkward posture. You're looking off to the side. A neutral position is looking straight ahead. That's the neutral position. Okay, anything from looking right or left is going to be an awkward posture. Contact stress. So everyone has seen these. This is a wrist rest, right? So these wrist rests usually go around, like in front of the mouse, so I can put my wrist on it, or they're in front of the keyboard. I can rest my wrist there. Now, just on a side note, these are great. Okay, but ideally, if you're able to create a situation where you don't rest your wrist on anything, that's definitely the way you want to go. Okay, but it's not common that we can set up our work or on a tabletop that you have at work. Okay, that's just a hard surface. So you don't want to have resting your wrist on a hard surface. And the reason for that is if you're doing repetitive motion by typing and you're resting your wrist on the hard surface, they synergistically compound each other, which means that they're going to work together to make an injury that's even worse than if they create an injury alone, one or the other. Does that make sense? So you always want to have something soft that you're resting your wrist on, or don't rest your wrist on anything at all, if that's possible. And then finally, force and vibration. I don't think this applies here too much, but just to give you a broad overview, force is either pulling or pushing something really hard. That has to do with our back and back safety. And then vibration, if you think of someone who's working in the streets and they're working with a jackhammer all day, well, all that vibration with the jackhammer prevents good blood flow into the fingers, and they end up getting certain types of injuries by all the vibration. In fact, through vibration in my car, when I was commuting every day in severe amount of traffic, I'm only on the 405, which I'm sure we all can relate to. Uh, I would spend 2 hours going up, 2 hours going down, and my fingers would start getting numb because my steering wheel vibrates too much. So that was a direct relation to the vibration issue. Okay, so what are some of the signs and symptoms that we should be looking for, right? Have you looked like any of these people here? I'm actually going through one of these right now. I feel like my rotator cuff is not, I'm in some sort of pain. But yeah, I mean, it's a painful process, okay? If you get an ergonomic injury, it's not fun. So the parts of the body that you'd feel pain or experience some type of swelling, there's hands, wrists, forearms, whoops, sorry, fingers, elbows, shoulders, neck, and back. Okay, and those sort of broad categories, but really, like your whole arm, right? The fingers, your elbows around the funny bone. You've heard of people getting tennis elbow. That's a tendonitis issue. That's from repetitive motion. Shoulders, like I was telling you, right? And neck, that's very, very common. Having a strained neck, or you feel like you have knots in your neck. And then your back is just maybe knots in your back as well. And then what is the pain going to be like? And I think if we look at these, there could be tightness, stiffness, discomfort, soreness, burning, tingling. So tingling is a good one. You might feel tingling in your fingertips sometimes when you're using the keyboard, right? Due to a lot of repetitive motion. Or coldness, right? And then finally numbness. That's again also in your fingertips, and that could travel up your arm. Okay, and I'm sure there's people in the class right now going, yeah, I felt that. I know exactly what all these feel like. So these are very common. Okay, so just briefly, what do you do if you're experiencing symptoms? So there's a number of things that you can do. I don't want to spend too much time here, but ideally, if you feel like, okay, these are symptoms, this is not a one-off, I've been living with this for a week or 2 weeks, this is not going away. This is not me sleeping improperly. This is definitely something that is work-related, okay? At that case, rather than let it get worse, it's better that we report the MSD symptoms immediately to our supervisor, okay? And at that point, the supervisor will reach out to risk management, my department, and HR, let HR know that we're gonna start the workers' compensation claim process. And at that point, once we've created the workers' compensation claim process, then we would send you to our occupational health physician clinic, and they are trained specifically to look at your symptoms, look at what's going on, and determine whether or not there is something related to work that is causing these symptoms. And then we get an official report that, yes, this claim is valid, this is what's going on, and this is our recommendation for what this person needs to do from this point forward to go through and get better. And it could be a number of things. It could be less typing maybe, or taking more micro breaks, or going to physical therapy. So there's a number of solutions, and it could be all of the above. And then cooperate in reducing the risk factors. Again, that goes to personal responsibility. So the physician might say, well, we need to do an ergonomic assessment. And I would absolutely say that we would need to do that. So we go into your office, take a look at what the setup looks like, and try to make recommendations so we can achieve as many of these ergonomic ideals and neutral positions as possible. But then going back to personal responsibility and mindfulness, then it's really up to you to say, okay, I'm in my car, I need to put on my seatbelt, right? So that's just an analogy. I'm at my desk, I need to have everything at my fingertips. I can't lean forward. My feet have to be on the floor. They can't be, I can't cross my legs. All these things that have been habits that you've done your whole life, now it's going to be something that has to be in the forefront of your head. This is how I need to sit from this point forward. Okay, so we're all doing our parts to make sure you're okay. Okay, so this is just a real quick true or false quiz. So true or false, ergonomics reduces exposure to MSD risk factors. And that would be true. Okay, I'm sure you all got that. MSDs affect only the wrists. False. Okay, an example of an engineering control to prevent MSDs is alternating tasks. You know, I don't think I discussed this enough. If you say false, then you got it right. So let me just explain this a little bit more if I didn't touch on it enough. An engineering control is a control, like I said, that's engineered. Okay, it's the keyboard, it's the chair, it's the mouse. But an administrative control would be a control where you're alternating tasks or you're taking micro breaks. It's how are you changing what you're doing over time so you're not consistently always in front of the computer typing and doing repetitive motions. That's the administrative control. Okay, so when it says an example of an engineering control to prevent MSDs is alternating tasks, it's not the engineering control, it's the administrative control. Okay. And then finally, report MSD symptoms only after you've seen a doctor. And that is false. You want to report them, get the workers' comp claim process going, and then we'll send you to our clinic to be observed by our occupational health physician. Okay. All right, so from here on, what we're going to be talking about, this is really the meat of this presentation, is your responsibilities and what you look for and all the tools that I'm going to be giving you to set up your workstation at home properly. Okay, but first, what we want to discuss is mindfulness, and I've sort of alluded to this a few times. Mindfulness is the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing. And any of you that have been through my safety training recently for COVID-19 probably got an earful of this already. This is the most important thing that our campus can be doing right now above everything else, because it keeps all of us in a mental state of be here now, be present, be aware of our surroundings and what we're doing, you know, and not to get off track here, but if you think outside of ergonomics, when you're outside, you wear a face covering. That's brand new, but we got to be mindful of that. What else? We should be washing our hands more often. We should be socially distancing, okay? These are things that we never thought about before, but now we're thinking about them all the time because we're mindful about it. You know, and whenever I walk into Vaughn's and there are a million people everywhere down the aisles, I'm always thinking, how do I stay at least 6 feet away from everybody? Is everyone wearing a face mask? I just concentrate on what I'm touching and what I'm grabbing off the shelves. So as far as mindfulness for ergonomics, mindfulness is how am I sitting in my chair? Okay, that's an example. Am I sitting all the way back? Am I sitting against the backrest? Is the backrest situated properly to support my lumbar? Are my feet flat on the floor? It's my feet that are supporting my back. Are my shoulders down? Am I looking straight ahead? Are my elbows and wrists in neutral positions? This is all mindfulness. And this is the process, like I said, the safety process that you need to go through before you start your work and throughout the day as you're working. Okay, just being present, being mindful of our body movements. Okay, just on one more side note, we'll go to the next screen. I used to work in another location where whenever we had new employee orientation, I would start out the session by having all the new employees get up, and we would go through various moves of Tai Chi. And Tai Chi is a slow moving martial art, right? So that means that you look like you're doing karate, but it's all in slow motion, right? I would start out with some very simple moves and progressively get more difficult. And what I would see is the simple moves were easy for people to do, but as you get harder and harder, I would be telling the individuals, well, you're going to be moving to the right and breathing in, and this hand goes here and this hand goes there, and then you move over to the left and you breathe out, and this hand does this thing and this. So now you're thinking about hands doing different things. You're thinking about when to breathe in, when to breathe out, how to twist and turn from one side to another, and then you can see the audience just falls apart, okay, because it becomes difficult. So that's me planting a seed there, showing you that whatever it was difficult that they had a hard time doing, they would probably learn it within a couple minutes and it would all be fine. But what all of you do day to day is far more complicated than doing some of these very basic Tai Chi moves. And it requires mindfulness all the time. And I think that's one of the things that we've sort of lost in our day to day of just being overwhelmed with everything we have going on. We're commuting, we're working, we have spouses and we have children, and maybe we're going to school, and there's just a lot. And now on top of that, we have this pandemic, which makes everything else hard to think about, right? Um, and so in doing this Tai Chi exercise, I felt that at least it's planting a seed, letting them know that was a complicated process, which makes it even more so you need to be mindful when you're doing things that are way more complicated. When I'm sitting at my desk, I'm probably doing 5 or 6 things at once, all at the same time. And that's really unacceptable. But that's the reality of the way we work. So the way out of that is to slow down a little bit, be mindful, take 30 seconds to a minute and go, how am I supposed to be sitting? How am I feeling? How are my shoulders feel? Am I feeling a little stressed? Is my neck feeling a certain way? Just do a check-in, get back to work, okay? All right, so posture and neutral positions. So number one, you want to maintain a good posture. We'll get to more of that in a second. If sitting, try to ensure that the small of your back is supported and your shoulders are relaxed. You really just want to feel relaxed. Again, it might be hard for some of us. It's hard for me. I really have to make a point and be mindful of just to have my shoulders down and to try to be relaxed and to approach my work in a relaxed way. Okay. If you're standing, keep your legs, torso, neck, and head approximately in line and vertical. Don't slouch, lean, or twist side to side. And I'm going to have examples of all of these, but this is just the basic idea. When we're talking about neutral positions, we're talking about the most relaxed position you can be in your body. Okay, and there's certain positions that we're going to be looking at that lend us to that. Okay, all right. So computer workstation. And what we're going to do is refer to this gentleman on the right. Okay. All right. So in the computer workstation, you want your head to be vertical and facing forward. Awkward posture is looking to the right or to the left. So you're always facing forward. And how are you going to face forward? Your monitor needs to be in front of you. Okay. And as far as monitor height, and I might say this in a couple seconds as well, but monitor height needs to be the top of the screen. The top of the screen has to be level with your eyes. Okay, that's going to be the neutral position because your neck wants to be slightly looking down on your screen at about a 30-degree angle. Okay, in addition to that, you want your arms to be about, or you want your monitor to be about arm's distance away. Okay, so that's the distance the monitor should be and the height the monitor should be. That will get you neck into a neutral position and head facing forward. A tilted head puts stress on the neck. It's an awkward posture. So if you're If your monitor is a little too high, all of a sudden you're going to be like this for every day, all day, and that's going to put strain on your neck. Or if your monitor is down here and you're looking down, okay, maybe you're slouching a little bit, or maybe your neck is just down, okay? That's not a neutral position either. Puts stress on the neck and shoulders. And then minimize head rotation, okay? You should really have what's in front of you. So I know the big trend these days is let's have 2 monitors. Let's have 3 monitors. I'm shooting for 5 monitors. I think that would be great. I would love to get 5 monitors. But the problem there is which monitor are you looking at? Okay, and which one do you use the most? So whenever I do these ergonomic assessments, I try to really get the person I'm working with to say, which monitor do you use 80% of the time? Let's put that one in front of you, or mostly in front of you, and have the other one off to the side, okay? So just try to think in terms of that so you can try to stay in that neutral posture. Keep your shoulders relaxed, and then arms tucked close to the body. Okay, that keeps your shoulders relaxed, just like how this gentleman is sitting. And then no extended reaching, we talked about that. Okay, if there are things that you're reaching for over and over all day long, that's a repetitive motion and an awkward posture, that means you have to bring the equipment closer to you. Okay, so computer workstations, elbows and wrists. So your elbows should be relaxed and close to your body, as we said. Elbows not extended forward or backward. Okay, so we don't want the elbows sticking out, flared out, right? And then we don't want to reach out forward. We just want the elbows relaxed and at our side. Okay. And then wrists should be straight. So I'm sure a lot of us have keyboards just like this, and you can probably see that the keyboard has these little feet. Oops. They go up and down, right? Now, I'm not sure why manufacturers still make these, because your keyboard should not be utilizing those feet. The reason for that is you want straight wrists, right? Keep your wrists straight. And as soon as you put the feet up, all of a sudden your wrist being straight, now your fingers come up a little bit because the keyboard is like up a little bit facing you, which means your fingertips come up. So your wrists are not going to be straight. They're going to be slightly up like this. Okay, that's an awkward posture. The neutral posture is having your wrists straight. Okay, and especially if I have one of these wrist rests and I put my hands on the wrist rests, that's even better because now my wrists are level with the keyboard and it's keeping my wrists straight. Hands not flexed up and down or bent inward and out. So we sort of talked about that. We don't want the hands flexed up, don't want them flexed down, and then we don't want them bent right or left. So how many of us, when we use our mice, we hold the mice probably like this, which is improper, and then we are constantly moving them around like this, right? That's how we use our mice. And that's not your fault. The mice are not the best these days. And that's something we'll talk about. But you don't want to be doing this or like this. It should be neutral position, straight, right? Or straight, not like that. Okay. And then legs and feet. So what we're looking for, and this is through all of the different areas where we see where things are bending in our body. Okay, so the knees. We want the knees bent about 90 degrees. That means your feet should be flat on the floor, and then you're getting about 90-degree angle at your knees. And the way to do that is to make sure that your knee and your hips are equal distant from the floor. Right? If your hips are above your knees, you're going to have less of a 90-degree angle. If your hips are below, you'll have more than a 90-degree or less than a 90-degree angle. If your hips are whatever, you get the idea. You want 90-degree angle. So this goes with all the areas of our body. So I don't know if you can see my mouse here, but so here's the knees, 90 degrees, hips right here, 90 degrees, elbows, 90 degrees, right? And then wrists are straight, neck is more or less straight, but tilted forward just a bit to look down on the monitor, okay? Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, how do I get my feet flat on the floor if I can't even reach the floor? So you can see here, there is a footrest. All the footrest is made to do is to bring the floor up to your feet. So now you can put your feet on the floor, and that supports your back because that pushes you into your backrest. Okay, so that's the benefit of the footrest. You want your thighs parallel to the floor. I discussed that, having your knees and your hips equal distant from the floor, making your thigh parallel to the floor. And then the chair should be at a comfortable height. It will be comfortable as long as you're in these neutral positions. And then finally, obstructions should be removed. So all of the storage that you have underneath your desk, I'm going to have to ask you to remove. Okay, you need to be able to stretch in various ways, and one of those, which is nice, is stretching your legs out underneath your desk. Okay, you need to have that space so you can get some blood flow into your feet, into your legs. If you can't happen to stand up at that moment, at least you can stretch your legs out. So having more space under your desk is better. And then feet flat on the floor, as we talked about that. Okay, so at home, some at-home options. If you, we can always look at footrests, but temporarily until we decide that we need one of those. A footrest can be created with a shoe box. It could be created with a stack of books or a stack of papers or something like that. Anything that you can stack up and then just put your feet right on it if that's an issue where you can't reach the floor, that works just as well. I think the shoe box is a great option. So chair adjustments. Of course, we want it to be comfortable. Generally, ergonomic chairs are comfortable. You want it to be slightly wider than your hips, so you don't want a chair that's too small. You don't want a chair that's too big. You need to get the chair you get the Goldilocks chair, the chair that's just right, right? Something that, and the idea behind that is you want the chair to support as much of your bottom as possible. That's why you will see that some chairs not only will fit on the width of the chair, but you can adjust them so you can move them out in front more or bring them in less so it can support more of the total under thigh. Right? Now, don't let it hit the back of your knee because that could be a pinch point. But if you get about this much distance between the back of your knee and the front of your chair, that's perfect. And then you are able to support the majority of the under parts of your legs. Like I just said, proper length there. Adjustable height, that's going to help you so you can get your feet flat on the floor. Adjustable tilt. So it is nice to be able to tilt this to lean back, lean front. Ideally, what we want is to be sitting up and get good lumbar, but keep in mind that we are objects in motion. Our bodies like to be in motion. So being able to move around a little bit in the chair, there's nothing wrong with that. I would recommend it just to get more blood flow. And then for some at-home options for chair support, if your chair is too low and you have some sort of cushion or maybe a pillow, you can sit on the pillow. I don't know if anyone's tried doing this or not, but sit on a pillow or a cushion and that raises you up if that's an issue. And we also need to have good lumbar support. Now your lumbar is your lower back, right? And if we look at how our back spine is curved, it goes in towards the lower part, that's the lumbar, and then it goes out during the upper part of the back. So lower lumbar, out at the upper part of the back, and then your head straight up. Okay, so in order to provide better lumbar support, a rolled up towel really works great. You roll it up, it's very supportive and firm. You put it right where your lumbar goes toward the lower part of your back, the small of your back, and sit back, and you should really feel like, oh, okay, now I get it. I'm getting good support in my lumbar and it's causing me to sit straight up. Okay. All right, computer monitor. So we talked about this a little bit. Directly in front of you, arm's length away, right? You just use your arm to see how far it should be. Proper height, so the head is level. See that her eyes are at the top of the screen, slightly looking down onto the screen. Documents are placed close to the monitor. So let's say you do a lot of data input and you use the data, you put it on your desk, and then you're inputting the data into your computer. So what you're doing is you're going like this, and now you're looking up. And you're going like this, and you're looking up. So do you think that's an awkward posture or an awkward movement? Yes, right? You're continually looking up and down. So that's what we want to prevent. So for a document holder, I have recommended in the past that you can either get one that puts it at a tilt just in front of your screen so it's not blocking your screen, and all you have to do is move your eyes up and down. It's about the same distance from the monitor, so you don't have to refocus your eyes. You look at your data, look at your screen, look at your data, look at your screen. Okay. You can also do it on the side without having to turn. So you're at the point where you're shifting your eyes over here. It's the same distance from the monitor, and then you shift back. You shift here, shift back. Okay. So that would be good placement for document holders. And then an at-home option. The top of your monitor should be at eye level so you don't have to strain your neck. If you're working on a reading intensive task, you can, so let's see, a lot of us are on laptops, right? What you can do is prop your laptop up on some books so it's at the right level, and you won't be leaning down too far and you start getting, a crick in your neck or some sort of strain in your neck and shoulders. Okay, so we do have risers that we use at the campus, but you can also use maybe some reams of paper or some books. You can raise up your monitor or your laptop to the proper level so you can get it at that eye level that we need. Okay. And this is specifically for people that are working with laptops. Okay, because I know that's hard. You might have it in your lap and you're looking down a lot. So putting it on some books is going to be very helpful, but it's likely that if you have a laptop and you put it on some books, you can't really type like that, right? So getting a separate keyboard and mouse to plug into the laptop would be a great idea. Okay, and then a neutral keyboard position. So elbows close to the body, they should be about 90 degrees. Wrists flat, a lot of this stuff we've been over already. Hands are not angled up or down. Okay, using the mouse. So I am about to blow your mind. Okay, you ready? You sitting down, hopefully? You've been using a mouse completely wrong all of these years. What you need to do, and it's hard, and it's understandable why we use the mice, okay? But with a mouse, these are made so you take your palm and you put it on the mouse, okay? That's how we're supposed to be using the mouse. But of course, now my fingers can't really touch the buttons because the mice are too small, right? So it's hard. But if you're able to put your palm on the mouse and somehow push the buttons, that's how you should be holding the mouse, because from here, not only is your wrist supported, so you don't need a wrist rest, but it sort of creates a situation where you have to move the mouse with your elbow. Okay, when you're moving the mouse like this, when your palm is on it, you should be moving it with the elbow, because it's hard to move the mouse like this at this point. Okay, your wrist is completely on it. Shoot. And your mouse is completely on, your palm is completely on the mouse, and you want to move the mouse with your elbow, not with your wrist. That's what they were made to do. From this picture right here, you can see that the hand is grabbing the mouse on either side. Again, that's an awkward posture. It's activating your fingers. It's using the fingers to move the mouse. That's not what we want to do. We want to rest the mouse, rest the palm on the mouse. Okay. keep the wrist straight in a neutral position, just like we've talked about. We want the wrist to be straight. Position the mouse properly. So if you're sitting in front of your computer and you're sitting properly, remember the equipment comes to you. So wherever your fingertips land, that's where your keyboard should be. And now positioning the mouse, that's where your mouse should be. So some of us who have keyboard trays, you probably understand this, where you pull the keyboard tray out, it kind of sits right in your lap, and it's absolutely perfect. That's what you need to have your keyboard there, your mouse is right next to you, and you're not reaching and you're not in awkward postures. And if you start feeling some sort of strain or tiredness, it's perfectly fine to move the mouse to the other side. Okay, so what's a good work area? Just like what we've talked about, there is the non-working area, the things that you don't want to reach for. You're hardly ever going to use that stuff. Occasional work area, once or twice per shift, you need this stuff, it's fine. Reach for it, but then once you get it, bring it into your usual work area. The stuff that's right there, you don't have to reach for, that you're likely to maintain a neutral position. Okay, now remember we talked about administrative controls? So this is what that's about, taking breaks. And this is where I find people have the hardest time, because you get so involved in the work that you're doing that you somewhat forget to take breaks. And before I forget, I want to let everyone know, you should try to either go on your computer, go on your phone or something else, create a schedule where it reminds you, once an hour, stand up, stretch, do your stretching exercises. For 5 minutes, take a micro break, okay? Also, within that period of time of an hour, see if you can find other tasks to do than just sitting at the computer. Maybe you can walk over and make some copies, or maybe you can walk somewhere else and do another activity, or maybe you have a meeting to go to, and that's great. But you want to try to do other activities and also take those micro breaks so you can do stretches. So like we said, do a different task. An eye break. So I don't know if you realize this, but when you're looking at a computer, you tend to forget to blink. So you want to look away, maybe look at a farther distance, look out the window, and blink a little bit. Get some moisture back in your eyes, and you'll realize that your eyes will not be as fatigued. Okay, so you take breaks. You walk around when you're in the office. That's something that people tend to do, so that's how they take breaks. But when you're at home, you're just focused on the thing that you're doing, and you might not forget. There's not as many distractions. In my world right now, it's Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting, and all of a sudden it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've just been sitting in front of the computer talking and not doing anything, right? Now, what I try to do is stand up. I try to stretch and do all these stretching exercises. That should be standing up every 30 minutes and then sitting down. You just got to remember to do those sorts of things, or get up and walk around. All right, so various types of exercises that you can do. Your hands, you can do finger extensions. Try to stretch them out as much as possible, and then make a fist. You do that with both hands. You stretch them out, and then you make a fist. Okay. And then your wrists, you can bend it down and then pull. That's a good one. Or stretch, you can pull it back. Do that with both hands. A shoulder roll, that will relieve tension in your shoulders. A blade pinch, right? Try to get your shoulder blades to touch in the back. And then an overhead reach. All these should be done hourly within that 5-minute micro break. Neck nod up and down, turning the head, and then tilting. See this, when I tilt, all of a sudden my neck starts cracking. You probably heard it. Again, arms behind the head. Bending forward to stretch the lower back and probably stretching the legs a little bit. Knee to chest. And then bending back. So here's all the different stretches. And I can send these to Estella and have her send it out to the group so you don't forget about what you can do as far as stretching. Okay, so now really quickly before we finish up here, I have a video that I'd like to show you. Now these are different stretches. What we find is oftentimes the median nerve and the ulnar nerve are cause for nerve damage. The reason for that is you want to stretch your nerves, just like you stretch your muscles. And it's called flossing the nerve. It's not just stretching it, but it's also having it floss between whatever it's moving through, okay? It sort of lubricates it so the movement is easier and it's not getting pinched. So what I've done here for the median nerve and also for the ulnar nerve is the list of steps that you have to do in order to do these stretches. But what I'm going to do right now is show you a video, and this gentleman is going to go over these exact stretches. I would recommend that you try it right now if you can. These are such great stretches. I'm so happy that you're going to get a chance to see these. Okay, so in this video, it starts about minute 3, and he's going to go over both the ulnar stretch and the median stretch. I don't know, can you hear that? I'm sorry. Here we go.
Make sure that we have a nice lengthened spine, and we're going to work on this arm. So you're going to let the arm hang by your side. The first movement is going to be to spread the fingers. The second movement is to pull the fingers back. So if my palm's facing the wall behind me, I'm going to lift my fingers up toward the ceiling. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate my shoulder out. So I'm going to turn my fingers to the outside. Now as I do that, you may already be getting a little bit of a tingling feeling into your hand, and if you are, you don't have to go through the rest of the exercise. You can stop right there, all right? So to repeat, spread the fingers, pull the fingers up to the ceiling, turn the hand out. We want to make sure that our elbow is now locked straight. Now we're going to slowly lift the arm out to the side. That's going to intensify the stretch. You're then going to pull the shoulder blade down slightly and tilt the head away slightly. Now, in this position, you should be getting quite a lot of tension in the nerve, and you'll be able to feel it. At this point, we want to do the mobilization, so we're going to do 3 different things. The first thing is we're going to raise our shoulder blade. That should take the tension off. We're then going to pull our shoulder blade back down, puts the tension back on. We're going to do that 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now, we're going to hold the shoulder blade down. We're going to bend the elbow. Take the tension off, straighten the elbow. Bend, straighten, bend, straighten. Finally, we're going to hold everything in that kind of stretch position, and we're going to bend our wrists forward, pull our wrists back, forward, back. Last one, forward and back, and relax and shake that out. Now, please remember, you have to keep the intensity low. Every subsequent position that we add in intensifies the mobilization on the nerve. So if you're able to just stand upright, spread your fingers and pull your fingers up toward the ceiling, and you already feel some mobilization occurring, that little tingling feeling, like I said, stop there and just do the same small motions to mobilize the nerve in this position. All right, so that's going to be exercise number 1. Exercise number 2 is for your little finger and your ring finger. All right, and this is called the ulnar nerve, and it passes right through here, and it's known as the funny bone nerve if you ever hit your elbow. So here's how we're going to mobilize that one. It starts exactly the same way, nice tall spine, good neck position. From here, begins exactly the same. My arm's hanging down. I'm going to spread my fingers. I'm going to pull my fingers up to the ceiling. Here's where it begins to get different. Now I'm going to bend my elbow, and I'm going to bend it and keep it fairly tight. I'm going to raise my arm until my upper arm is parallel to the floor. I'm then going to roll my arm out to the side. Now from here, a couple of important things are going to happen. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to rotate it forward. Normally when I rotate it forward, you'll begin feeling that little tingling sensation in the little finger. You're then going to pull the shoulder blade down, gentle head tilt away. This is the full setup for the exercise. Now the way that we're going to mobilize the nerve is really simple. We're going to rotate the thumb back, rotate it forward. So we'll do that 3 times. We have to hold everything else just as it is. We're then going to go to our wrist. We'll bend the wrist forward, pull it back, forward, and back. And then the last one, we're going to do our shoulder blade. We're going to raise our shoulder blade. That should take the tension off. Drop our shoulder blade, tension on. Do that 2 more times. And shake it out. Now, if you're moving relatively comfortably at a comfortable pace, this should take you about 30 seconds to do both. The median nerve and ulnar nerve on one hand, 30 seconds on the other hand. My recommendation is that you test this. As I said, test your grip strength, see how your hands feel. If you have any kind of pain or discomfort, see how it responds to that. If you get a good benefit from this, plan to do these exercises 2 or 3 times a day, particularly if you are encased in a cubicle each day, spending a ton of time typing, working on fine motor stuff on a phone or whatever. It is a potential lifesaver, not just in terms of pain, but also, as I said, in activity and exercise as you get older. So, into carpal tunnel and grip strength next week, I'm going to take you through another exercise that's much more.
Okay, so what I have here in this presentation, these are all the steps he did for the median nerve. These are all the steps he did for the ulnar nerve. Again, I think those are some of the best stretches that I've seen in a long time, in addition to the ones that we had showed you that are more basic stretches that you should be trying to do every hour for about 5 minutes, okay? So really quick, I know we're almost out of time here. We are out of time. Number 1, while working on the computer, elbows should be extended out or close to the body. Close to the body. Computer monitor should be positioned in front of you or to the side. In front. While you're typing, your wrist should be bent up or straight. Straight. And then finally, control the mouse with wrist movements or elbow movements. And that would be elbow movements. Okay, so that's the presentation. Like I said, if you are having issues, feel free to reach out to me. We can set up a ergonomic assessment over Zoom. I've done that a few times and it's really fascinating. That's the way we have to do things these days. And I'm happy to help guide you through the process if you feel there is some sort of tension or stress that's happening to your body by working from home. So at this point, if there's any questions, I'm happy to take some questions.
Yeah, I want to jump in the interest of time. I know we're only scheduled till 5 o'clock. I'm going to stop the recording. And then for those of you who want to stay for any Q&A, you are more than welcome to do it.